Welcome to Creative Imperfections. I'm Kelly, and I am so glad you're here. Think of this podcast as your safe place to be your beautifully messy self. Let's dive in. Over time, I've come to realize that there are a lot of people living inside my head. Not actual people, of course. But there is definitely a committee in there, and the problem is they all seem to think they deserve a vote on every single decision I make. And the wild part is nobody in this committee has qualifications. Nobody. Not one resume has been submitted, not one interview was conducted, and yet somehow these people continue showing up to meetings. There's my pessimistic co-pilot, of course. We've talked about that one before. My pessimistic co-pilot walks in carrying weather reports that no one even requested. Ooh, looks risky. Might crash. What if we all stay home? Very helpful. Then there's my perfectionist who apparently believes if I can't do something beautifully and flawlessly and with a color-coded system attached to it, then perhaps we should simply never begin. Very reasonable. Then there's my overachiever who wakes up every morning like a motivational speaker that drank way too much coffee. Okay, everyone, today we're going to answer every email, organize every room, write a chapter, work out, start a new hobby, heal emotionally, drink a gallon of water, and become our best self all before lunch. And honestly, the confidence there is admirable. Completely unrealistic, but admirable. Then my people pleaser walks in carrying concern for literally everyone else. What if they don't like it? What if they misunderstand? What if we disappoint someone? And then over in the corner sits my overanalyzer, who has somehow turned every decision into a full investigation. Should I send the email? Should I text them? Should I wait? Should I reread it? Should I read it from another perspective? Should I have written a different email or text? Should I move to another country and just start over? Wow, it escalates quickly. And all of these voices seem to hold meetings at very inconvenient times, like right before I do something that matters, right before I speak, right before I create something, right before I try something new, right before I recorded this episode. Nobody meets when I'm deciding what socks to wear. No one seems deeply concerned about that, but start moving towards growth and suddenly everyone shows up, and they all have opinions. The thing I've realized is that most of these voices aren't trying to ruin my life. They're trying to protect me. My pessimistic co-pilot wants safety. My perfectionist wants certainty. My people pleaser wants connection. My overachiever wants significance. My overanalyzer wants control. None of them are evil. They're just loud. And for a really long time, I thought the goal was to get rid of them, to silence them, kick them out, end the meeting permanently. But guess what? That never worked. Because the harder I fought them, the louder they seemed to become, and the more frequent the meetings. It's like trying not to think about something. The second someone says, "Don't think about a pink elephant," suddenly you've got an elephant doing gymnastics in your mind. The more attention I gave these voices, the more authority they seemed to believe they had. And somewhere along the way, I realized the problem isn't that the committee exists. The problem is when I let the committee run the meeting. Because every time I handed over control, I ended up stuck. Nothing moved, nothing happened. We just sat there endlessly discussing possibilities and risks and scenarios and feelings and opinions until eventually everyone became exhausted and no decision was ever made. Have you ever had those moments where you're so deep inside your own thoughts that you feel frozen? You want to move, you want to act, you want to say yes or no or start or begin or create, but you've got 17 versions of yourself offering commentary. And suddenly making a simple decision feels like you're negotiating world peace. I've started imagining it differently now. I imagine the committee sitting at a conference table. I let them speak, I hear the concerns, and I acknowledge them. Okay, pessimistic co-pilot, thank you. Perfectionist, I hear you. People pleaser, I appreciate your input. But then eventually I stand up and say, thank you everyone for attending. The meeting is now over. Because someone has to leave the room and actually live life. Someone has to make the decision. Someone has to take the step, and that someone has to be me. Not fear, not perfectionism, not anxiety, me. Because every voice in that room is pulling from old information, past experiences, past fears, past evidence. But growth usually asks us to move into something we haven't experienced yet. And if we only listen to old voices, we'll keep making old decisions. The committee can offer information, but they don't get the final vote. Lately, I've been realizing that leadership isn't becoming someone who never doubts themselves. Leadership is becoming someone who can hear all the voices and still decide where we're going. Not because every concern disappears and not because everyone agrees, but because someone finally takes the wheel. And honestly, my committee can still come along for the ride. I just don't need all of them touching the steering wheel at the same time because that is absolute chaos. So maybe if your own committee has been loud lately, maybe you don't need to silence everyone. Maybe you just need fewer people running the meeting. Thank you for listening to Creative Imperfections. Always remember, there's magic in the mess. If you enjoyed this episode, share it, subscribe, and keep showing up for your beautifully imperfect journey. Until next time.